What role does AI play in turning consumer data into actionable insight, and how can organizations use these insights for better decision making?
How AI can be used to actually really analyze vast data so fast than a human brain can. And the other thing that was coming to my mind is how AI has enabled marketers to shift from demographics to psychographics, like, understanding people's choices much better than we can do. The shift from demographics to psychographics is like a big thing now when it comes to marketing, and this is made possible by AI.
Now that we have these digital insights, a lot of those insights come from tools that kind of put a bit of space between us and the consumers, right? In terms of building a persona, you don't really have to do field research anymore, like go out there, focus groups and talk to people and buy them mandazis and things like that. You can now just kind of put out a little sampler, or like take sample data from app data and ad data and process these things together. But at some point then you have the customer interaction. And for that customer interaction, how do you make that human touch not get lost, especially when you have predictive capabilities that your consumer does not know about, especially when you have the amount of insight into what they're doing and you've researched it long. When you get to the point of the human touch, when you get to the point of consumer interaction, how do you maintain that realism?
Making the customer feel engaged even in the way your content goes out, or your messaging, or your... Again, I speak from a very programmatic advertising type of space. I'll refer to campaigns a lot, right? So how your campaign goes out and what message you're trying to bring out, how does that engagement look like? And I think that's an element we can't lose. We also talk about user-generated content, right? You want somebody to fully engage and interact and immerse in your messaging, in your product, whether that is offline at a supermarket or on digital as well, right? So in as much as we're able to predict, yes, we've targeted you, you know Charlene where she will be, you're meeting her at her point of need at the right time with the right message, and surely she's likely to engage, right?
I built an ad campaign on, say, a chicken franchise or a chicken selling enterprise. And I built a campaign based on AI. I put out my ads. I have flyers running and what have you. And I have people coming through the shop or the cafe to eat the chicken. I want to increase my numbers. I will still have, again, back to human touch, back to tradition. I may still have to place a human somewhere with some samples to draw in more customers. No amount of AI will give you the taste of my chicken, and therefore the human interaction or the human layer must come on. Let's even look at Safaricom. They may run their campaigns using AI based on data that AI is sifting through. However, they cannot get rid of their customer service department, because you will experience whatever challenges you're going to experience with whatever service that they advertised using AI. So the human touch can never really go away.
AI is not replacing humans, but AI is coming in to complement humans. It is what I may call like second brain. You have it there to do something a little bit more powerful, because if you want to manually analyze data that you are getting from your customers, you will take ages to do that. But it is helping you to do it much faster in an efficient way. But that tool is very useless without the human behind it.
If you have run campaigns that have been AI driven, how have you used those insights to be able to drive more engagement?
No, I'll share a campaign that was done. I didn't do it. It was done by our US office together with Campari. I know all of you know, some of you know what Campari is. So they ran a campaign that usually would take an agency, I don't know, I've not worked in an agency, but I'm guessing maybe 2 weeks to put together. They were able to run it in 2 days. and they were able to get better results. Because again, and I think we talked about it earlier today, in terms of just how deep AI can go for you in terms of sharing insights. So the customer segmentations was quite tight. The campaign was then able to deliver results that were much better. I think they had from 20 to 30% engagement. In my memory serves me right, it was to about 80%. Yeah. And again, within 2 days.
That's crazy.
Within 2 days. Yeah. So again, it's the efficiency that Moses was talking about. It's the speed that Moses was talking about. That then you can take advantage of AI to really help you deliver at that level.
I'll give you an example just to explain my point of Sephora. We are familiar with Sephora, yeah? The ladies. Okay, for the men in the room. Sephora is a very big global cosmetic store, I would call it, right? And they have, now you know, learning new things, yeah? So Sephora saw a need, and that's what George is talking about, yeah? Knowing what your customer is struggling with, understanding that, and then using your AI to solve or at least hasten the process of finding a solution. And that's where things like chatbot come in, right? So Sephora noticed that when a woman gets onto the site, there are so many things, so many brands. You start looking at one thing, you go into the next, you go into the next. Before you know it, your shopping cart has 100 things, and now you need to make a decision because you're on a budget. So what do you chuck and what do you keep, right? And most of these things, cosmetics, so makeup, for example, right? I have like 3 shades. I'm not sure whether it's this, this, or this. So I have all 3 in the basket, right? So what they did is they created, using AI, again, just understanding that they can see there's so many people, their carts are full, but they're not making the purchase, or they're taking forever to make the purchase, right? So how do we make our work easier such that you go on, you see what you need in the cart, you purchase, right? So these chatbots, or what they do is you have a personalized consultant, right? So you ask the questions. It asks you basic questions, you know, what's your skin type, what's your tone, shades, things like that. And at the end of the journey, it gives you a product specifically for you. So it becomes very easy to make a decision for you to make that purchase.
Given the scale of the projects that you work on, you have a lot of access to a lot of data. What are the considerations ethically that need to be put in place? I mean, I know, like we mentioned, it's wild, wild west right now.
At the end of the day, the question of ethical use of AI, the question of ethical use of data and insights that we have, it will never come to an end. First, the legal side of it will play catch up. How to actually, it will play catch. But look, you do not create laws for something that you are imagining will come. Things happen, we see the gaps, and then we go out and create laws. Laws will always follow, right? Nobody knows this, well, how the space will look like even a year to come.
For AI to be responsible, there's need for transparency. It is important to be transparent with the people that you're collecting data from and be clear about where this information will be used. For what purposes is it being used for? Governments and policymakers, need to be really awake to where AI is going and build those scenarios. Mm-hmm. Instead of necessarily waiting for the scenarios to happen, build those scenarios and see what would be the best legal framework that would work in those sorts of scenarios.
Government needing to come up with the policies. We know that we all acknowledge that it's going to take some time by the time they're catching up. However, we are having organizations that are already actively using AI, and I believe all of us in this room are. So how do we develop those policies as we are waiting for the government to catch up? Policies to determine how AI is being used in organizations, and what are those guidelines that can be factored in for now? Because we know the policies for the government are going to take time. How do we make sure that we are like self-governing, for lack of a better explanation?
We spoke about transparency, fairness, Accessibility. At any point, if you want to know what you're signing up for, you should be able to access that. And anyone, and also accessibility from the point of, you know, if you don't know how to read, how can that be communicated to you? If you're impaired in whatever way, how can you be able to have access to that? And then going back to what George said in terms of the real greater good. So the real greater good. So you can self-govern yourself and ask yourself, is this ethically right? What we are doing, is it ethically right?